Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our 2020 webinar today. We have a really exciting presentation today. I hope you guys really enjoy it and see some really fun ideas. We're going to be talking to one of our winners from the 2020 Inspiration Awards contest that we held last year. If you don't recognize my voice, I'm Vanessa with the Global Training Team. And on the line, I also have Agustin Caro from Studio M. He's based in Fort Lauderdale, and we're going to be looking at some of the projects that he's worked on probably over the last year or so. And he uses 2020 software, of course, and we're really going to focus on a lot of things that he does with his presentations and visual impression. So we're really excited to talk to him about how he uses it. So Agustin, welcome today. Can you give us a little bit more about your background and maybe how you got into design?
Hello. Yes, well, I was born and raised in Argentina. My background is in architecture. I graduated from the Catholic University of Salta in Argentina. On my third year, I did a student exchange summer work program, bringing me to the United States. My first job was holding a welcome sign at a cruise line in Fort Lauderdale Airport. Not speaking any English. Playing rugby, I met my wife-to-be, and upon graduation, we traveled around Asia for a year before settling in Fort Lauderdale and getting married in 2011. Because of the economy, it wasn't easy for me to get in the design industry at first, so I trained as a first responder, an EMT, and then attended college for nursing until I got an opportunity here at M. Hansen and Company, and which I'm very thankful for. So here I am now.
That's awesome. What a fun story. It's always interesting, the people that we meet in this industry and their backgrounds. I love it. I love it. So like I said, today we're going to be looking at some of your projects. And some of the projects that we're going to start with, a few of you might actually recognize these. They were some of the winners from our Inspiration Award contest last year. So the project that's on the screen, can you tell us a little bit more about this one?
This was a break room for a client in which we did the furniture as well as the flooring. I tried to reflect their space as is with those big sectional windows. I also included a floor plan on the right-hand side. The client likes to incorporate plans into their spaces and also help me with keeping a more balanced image on the rendering.
Very cool. Good. And tell us, what tools do you use today? Obviously, you're using visual impression, but which tool do you use to do your drawings?
For my drawings, I use 2020 CAP, 2020 worksheet, and visual impressions.
Perfect. Well, that sounds great. Excellent. So as you can see, here's another project, kind of a similar style. We've got the windows, like you pointed out in the previous example, of just a really nice representation. Now, I'm going to make an assumption and say that once somebody sees a visualization like this, that they probably expect that. What's it like? Do your clients or does your sales team expect to get a rendering with every project?
Well, I probably use visual impressions now for 90% of our projects. I started doing just some projects on visual impressions, but since it does make a difference when presented to the clients, I try to use them most to all of our projects. But depending on time, if I add accessories to the renderings or not, but I always try to make as close as possible for the client by adding, if we're doing floorings, walls, etc., to make it a more real rendering of the final product.
Sure. No, that makes sense. So it sounds like the majority of your projects, you try to give them at least some sort of idea of that space so they can understand it. Now, I noticed in these last three renderings, the detail, the level of detail when it comes to the windows, the scenes that we see out that window. Even like you mentioned, some projects you might spend a little bit more time with like accessories and details. At this point, I'm going to invite you, if you'd like to show how you do some of these things, especially maybe those windows in the background, give us a little bit of a few tips and tricks of how you do it every day.
Well, basically the window is just a picture in the background, which I downloaded. For example, I downloaded this picture. So then I just in Paint or any image software, I did rectangles to do all the divisions, and then I started cutting individually and saving as an individual picture, as an individual file, like you see here. But then when I incorporated into visual impressions, I realized that the picture was too bright, and it was basically too strong in the rendering and calling all the attention. So I came back to this software and I went individually and I changed the contrast and the color on the picture to make it less intense, like by just changing the brightness and the contrast. You can play with it.
Awesome. No, that's brilliant. I love it. I love it. So, so often we think we're trying to really make that furniture shine and really show off. So that was a great, great concept to kind of make those images maybe just a little bit more dim to hopefully make that overall impact really, really subtle in the background, but make that furniture pop out. I love it. And using a tool like Paint, everybody has access to that. So whether you have Paint or you're working with something like Photoshop, we can definitely get some really good images. Cool. All right, this next project, I'll ask a little bit about this one, and I'm going to make one quick observation on this where, you look at the overall architecture is really, really subtle. You didn't do a whole lot when it came to color or unique finishes on the wall or ceiling. Was that intentional? Tell us more about this project.
Well, this project was a combination of a standard workstation with high adjustable tables. It was a few years ago. Now high adjustable tables are becoming very popular. We also had a combination of resin screens in between stations, as well as panels with a combination of fabric tiles and slat walls, which provides not only a different look to the panels, but also gives the flexibility to hang accessories from those rails at different locations and height. I kept the background basic, just to focus on the workstations. So I keep them with just a standard carpet and keep the walls white. So the entire idea is to only focus on the workstation and not the space that was not important in this case.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Good. So you still get the idea of the space, but you save a little bit of time and really focus on the furniture. Awesome. Good deal. That looks good. And I think we'll see a few of these concepts repeat in some of your future projects too. Now, the next two renderings I want to show, these are probably a couple that we've gotten most questions about. This was another example of one that won in our Inspiration Awards. And all of a sudden, as soon as this was posted on our website, everybody was asking, how did you do the really cool logo on that back wall? There's a few different details in here. We've, of course, got a really nice flooring. You've got a really nice material on that wall. So you spend a little bit more time, of course, the glass in the background, the illusion of the skyline in the background. But also, I'm going to show this next one and then give you a chance to talk about this. Another one where you've got that really nice logo that just stands out, really personalizes it to your client. Can you show us how you did that?
Yes. I basically do them in CAD. So I just have, this is just a wall, and this is the side of the wall. So I just incorporate text. And you can select any font that you want. I'm just going to make it bigger. So by having the side view of the wall where you want to put the letters, you can have an idea of the size that you want them, a little bit bigger or smaller. So now I'll just put it on the side. Every time I create a cap icon, I created two, because later I'm going to use one in 3D, one in 2D. So now I use the tool to explode the text explode, TXT-EXP. I select the text, what it does, it explode it. So now I'm going to give her, in 3D, I'm going to extrude it. You can give it the size that you want on the text. I'm going to give it 3 inches. Now, when you create the cap symbol, if you change a layer, like I'm going to change a different layer, so then I can assign different finishes. So now I need to put it on the real wall. I'm going to extrude actually this wall and this wall. So now I can have my layers right there. And now I don't want it on the floor, obviously. So I'm going to align them right here. Now I have it at my desired location. So now all I need to do is just create this into a cap symbol so I can bring it to visual impressions. So with the make part from cap, I select the object. I want to select the font, pick a point, location, and the rotation. Now ask me for the 3D block. Select the point. I want to assign part number. Here, which is very cool, you can even put prices and everything. If you're doing modifying a standard or creating a custom item, you can add the pricing in there. So now I can bring it to visual impression. I'm going to bring this wall too. You can use the same thing with anything. So I'm going to bring this wall as well. You can just put in any name. Now that it's ready, as you can see now, this is a cap icon. I can convert it into 2D and 3D like any other object. And now if I open Visual Impressions, select the floor, and now I have it there.
Awesome.
And I can
love it.
assign the finishes. So in that case was a wood wall, and here I can, because I did I changed the layer. I can play with the font, and that's how. Yeah.
Amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. So many of these tools today we use for, standard product or modifying something as a custom, but then you took it a step further and started to think, okay, what else would make that really look unique for that client? Perfect. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now I saw a few questions popping up in the chat window. I know we are kind of walking through a lot of concepts pretty quickly, so don't forget you're going to get a recording of this in your email in the next couple days, so you'll be able to go back and visit it as well. So don't worry, guys. All right, that's very cool. Now let's take a look at this next project. Now this one, I actually have a whole collection of photos that you shared with me, and this project had a little bit of evolution. The client made some changes, or they wanted to look at it maybe different ways with additional details on the walls, and we'll definitely want to hear the story about this. But let me kind of page through some of the images. So as you can see on the first image, the walls are very simple, white. The second image, you'll start seeing a few images that are starting to pop up kind of on the right-hand side. Or again, here's the initial design that you sent me, and then you sent me this that had some really cool impact images in that background to kind of fit that client and what they were looking for. So What an impressive space. I'll give you a couple minutes to talk about this one and maybe walk around the project, and then I'll show everybody the final actual installation photo in a little bit.
Okay. This is our client's administrative office. Previously, they had an out-of-date office that was inefficient and had been piecemealed together over the years with various styles and finishes of furniture. They wanted us to create an environment that incorporated open workstations for staff, increased storage, and multi-purpose team meeting spaces. Also, priority was to have a look that reflected their South Florida location. So with visual impression, we were able to give them an accurate representation of what the space would look like to make sure that our design will meet their needs and present the image they were looking to achieve. The client was very impressed with the multiple renderings we did. It gave them the full confidence to move forward with the project. And upon seeing the project completed, they were amazed at how accurately the renderings reflected how the space actually turned out. So they were very happy with the result and how the renderings were so accurate with the space.
Yeah, I can see that. I remember you telling me a little bit about when they selected the flooring, they were trying to imitate something. Tell us a little bit more about maybe the finishes or just the design process. Were there a lot of changes that came up during this project?
We try to, this carpet has like an effect of the ocean. That's why in the center it's like darker than on the sides. It's kind of create like the waves, how it floats. So we're trying to represent that in the renderings. The actual carpet, they have on their website a really nice video showing that carpet. So I try to download different carpet to represent that. And I don't know if you can see in the center on the workstation, you can see it darken and start like kind of fading on the side. So that was fun to play with and try to show it on the renderings as well.
I bet. Yeah, I can just imagine someone trying to explain that without a picture. Yeah, we're going to make it look like the ocean, and it's going to be darker and lighter and have an ombre effect. But until you can see it, I'm sure we all have had that client that can't really understand our vision. So here's a final photo of the actual space. So hopefully, yeah, I think you can kind of see the carpet and the transition of color. And there's two pictures here, so absolutely a really good representation from that visual impression rendering. Excellent. Is there anything else that you wanted to share about this project?
Well, I think in order to do the carpet, it was a little challenging because sometimes when you put the finishes on the entire floor, it's hard to make it land exactly where you want. So what I did, I just created in CAD, I created a piece on the floor in the center to make sure that I could put the finish on that center floor, and then the rest I left it to visual impressions to render the entire picture.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of like how you drew that wall in that previous example. You created something on the floor to emulate that unique space. Awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
Exactly.
Good. All right, so next project. Here is another nice space, an impressive, multiple areas, maybe some work areas, a little casual seating. If you kind of look at this project, or even in any of the renderings, can you explain, has visual impression ever helped you maybe catch a mistake in a project before?
Actually, yes, many times. For example, like sometimes I would put a pedestal, and when I do the rendering, I realize that the pedestal doesn't have a back; it has open back, and I put it in an open space. So obviously, I need it with a finished back. So I go back and change it. Other times, it helps also in the panels. Sometimes I put the wrong height of the end trim, or I forget to assign tiles on the panel, so you can see just the panel frame without any tiles in it, or some tiles missing. So visual impression is very helpful to catch those mistakes that you forget sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. We think of it so much as the presentation tool to explain something to our client, but I know I definitely rely a lot on the visualization for my own spec checking. Perfect. So here's another great space. And one thing I noticed that was kind of neat about this space and not the typical kind of box shape is you've got some angled walls in those corners. Can you talk about this project and maybe how you did those angled walls?
Yes, actually these angle walls, I did it with the same visual impression, with the architectural components that they offer. So I was able to turn the walls on the desired angle, and then create a more accurate space to show the clients. As you can see here, I didn't do anything on the windows, so I left it like standard.
Yep, that looks good. Yeah, just a simple representation, but again, very, very easy to understand. Cool. Now this one, I'm going to go a little different direction. Let's talk about trends and different things that you're seeing. I can tell right away in this project it looks like we've got another maybe sit to stand or something that's a little bit more flexible in this space. In your area, what types of trends are you seeing today?
I see a lot of benching solutions, as well as high adjustable desks with screens and dividers. Also, the mid-century modern and the industrial looks are becoming a trend as well.
Yeah, mid-century modern, probably my favorite. You can kind of even just see that in the chairs on this example. Love it. I love it. Now, this next project is a little different, not your typical office space. Got to design something a little unique. Can you tell us what this project was all about?
This project was for a bar, and this project was all custom. And what I like about 2020 software is that first of all, it's very easy to use the rendering software, but the ability to create my own spaces or to modify and create my own 2020 symbols, I can do any space or any design on it. For example, here everything is custom made, so I drew everything in CAD and made a symbol, and then I render it into 2020 without any manufacturer or any other help other than AutoCAD and the 2020 tools.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. So even though everything's custom, no one would ever know, you could really design any type of space as long as you can represent those graphics. Very cool. So now probably my favorite rendering that you shared with us is very close to home. This is a space in your office today. Can you tell us a little bit more about this project?
Well, this is actually our showroom here in Fort Lauderdale. It was made just for fun, since obviously wasn't for a client. I wanted to see the real space, so I had to create an accurate representation, and the ceiling wasn't a regular ceiling, so I decided to draw the entire showroom in 3D in CAD, and then bring it into visual impressions. The backdrops, or basifals are called, they weren't available as a cap symbol, so I was able to get them through their manufacturer website, and then make them a cap symbol and incorporate it into the rendering. And the glass walls were also done in CAD, but I just kept them simple without any trim or anything, just for a representation purpose. So, and here also the floor was the same situation as the project before. It has in the center is all the churrasco, and on the side is carpet. You can't see it because the window reflects the same floor here, but so I have to create a center floor in order to apply this churrasco and then I left the carpets on the side, which I could show you in CAD if you have time.
Yeah, I think we do have plenty of time. If you want to jump over to CAD, let's see what it looks like on that side. Because yeah, there's definitely a lot of components to this space. Very, very cool representation.
So this is the showroom, and this is how I drew everything of the architectural building in 3D here. So you can see that's the ceiling that you can see I missed one here. And all the walls and everything, the entire space. So then I'm going to open Visual Impressions. So you can see that's the entire carpet. So the entire building has the carpet. And then I incorporated the center floor to change to a different type of flooring. Of course, as the bigger the file is, the more you have to load when it comes to visual impression. So it takes a little bit longer. But here the space is. So here you can play. So that's that ceiling. And these are the different offices. So you can play with the entire space and have an accurate representation of walls and columns. And also save you a little bit of time because you don't have to try to guess the location on all those columns and walls. This was a custom finish on this table. And that picture that I did the rendering is this one. So that was the rendering. And here is the floor, you see? This is the floor that you can tell, you can make it, since I added, I can include it or not. I didn't give her any, pretty much I didn't give it any width, so it's like flashed on the other floor. So it doesn't give a second floor, it's just a layer.
Yep, that makes sense. That looks good. Yeah, now hopefully the screen is catching up to everybody. Sometimes it has a little bit of a lag as you're moving through the project, but having all of those details drawn in CAP and it's shown as a CAP part, then Visual Impression knows how to read those things. So I see a couple of questions coming in the chat window, and let me know if you feel comfortable answering these. But one of them, a lot of people are asking about the glass. Did you do something special to show those glass walls? Did you use the actual glass image that came right out of the room settings in Visual Impression?
This glass is just, I just did it with the same, it's another in CAD 3D that I assigned the glass finish to it.
Okay.
So if I click on it, so it's basically I can assign anything. I just created a thin wall, and then assign the finishes. So you can assign any finish. You can make anything glass by adding. That's why it's easy to do the renderings, visual impressions, because with the with any glass, like, let me go back to the glass. So I put glass. If I select this, I can make everything glass. You see?
Perfect. Cool.
So it's that easy.
You basically just drew what would normally look like a wall, but it was just really thin, and then assigned glass to it to give it that look. My favorite part to that is
Yes.
that, realistically, that would have a frame around it. It would have a door handle, but you still get the same idea of that space without having to go into quite that much detail. Like you said, you wanted to just show the space because it was your showroom. Awesome.
Yeah, and it's much faster also to do it.
Right. Save some time. Absolutely. Another question that came in through the chat window was about lighting. Do you have any tricks? Like, this project is really big. So did you find that it was easy or difficult to light in this one, especially since you've got your unique ceiling? Any tips there?
Well, yeah, the lighting is very tricky. You have to play with them. Like you can see here, I have a lot of extra lighting hiding from 2020. I just add, depend on every picture, I might have to change the lightings and include more lights to it. So I just go on the extras where the lightings are. Actually here on the ceiling lights, and I just start adding more lights and moving around. And the good thing about the lighting is that, for example, you have a light here, and if you select you unclick here where it says visible, you won't see it in the renderings, but still it's giving you the light.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Yeah, I love it. So sometimes you'll place lighting strategically based on the room or the space you're rendering, and then you might kind of cheat and use the lighting that's in visual impression but literally turn the graphic off so you still get the light that you want where you want it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, so and every rendering, when sometimes you get they're darker or you get like a shade in the ceiling. So if I don't like it, you can just add more of these lights and render it and see it, and then you just make it invisible, the light fixture.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Awesome. All right, I'm sure you guys are really excited to see this one last photo. Let me get back over to my screen. So I also have a picture of that actual showroom space. So there's the finished installation photo. So impressive. And again, remember we were looking at like the glass on the sides that went to each room outside of this conference area, and you can see the detail in the photo with the frame for the glass and the handle on the glass, but the visual impression rendering gave you the impression of that space, right, or of that detail. So it still gives you a really good image. Awesome. Well, Agustin, we cannot thank you enough for sharing all of your experiences. There's so many little details as you saw through all the projects that we shared today. Some of them are basic and simple, just easy to show the client space, all the way to some that are a little bit more detailed and complex, but can really hopefully knock some people's socks off for sure. So I have a few last announcements as we wrap up today. Again, thank you guys so much for joining us. But I do want to announce that we're bringing back the Inspiration Contest Awards again. So starting in April, you'll be able to visit our website, and the site's down at the bottom of the screen. And we're looking for some entries in these 4 categories. Things like smart spaces. Are you doing some healthy spaces? Do you have some flexible plans? So you've got multiple use areas, as well as collaborative designs. So if you participated last year, our categories were a little bit different. We kind of opened them up and tried to fit some of the trends that we're seeing in the industry today. So if you're currently working on a project or you have a project that you had been doing and you think would fit well, we would love to see your visual impression renderings. So that contest will open up in April and be open for some time. Everyone will get a chance to vote on their favorites, and you'll see some more and more details about that over the next couple months. So definitely keep an eye open and think about your projects. Think if any of those fit. We do have some training classes just for visual impression. If you've never taken a class with us before, let me show you one quick thing here. When you go out to our training page and you know you're looking for a specific class, you can actually just type in the name of the software that you're using. So specific to visual impression, since we talked about it so much today, as I type that in, you can see we've got classes in March, April, May, all the way into July. Many of the classes are online, so they're just short segment classes that you can still get a lot of other stuff done that day, but we also have classes here at our office in Grand Rapids as well, and those are 2-day classes, and we go over the drawing tool and the visualization tool, so whether you're using CAP or Giza. So I hope to see you in some of those classes in the future. And of course, if you haven't already, join us on the community. Anytime we have updates, whether it's something new in training, if we've got a new webinar coming up, anything with the Inspiration Awards, you can join our community at 2020spaces.com/community. We'll be staying on the line a couple minutes if you have any last questions in the chat window. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed today. Let us know if you have any questions in the future. Thanks, everybody.